The giant oval meeting room buzzed with worried voices. Beings from 24 different planets sat around a massive table. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with inner light. They all shared one thing: fear. Ambassador Zixtal rubbed his 4 eyes tiredly. As head of the Galactic Federation Council, he had seen many problems. Wars between star systems, deadly plagues, even the collapse of a sun. But nothing like this. "Play the recording again," he said. The wall screen lit up. On it, a beautiful green planet appeared. Then a swarm of crystal-like objects entered the view. They looked like floating diamonds, each as big as a small moon. As the council watched, the crystals surrounded the planet. A strange humming filled the air. The planet's oceans began to dry up. Its green lands turned brown. In less than an hour, the once living world became a dead rock. "That was Colony World 87, said General Krill, a tall insect-like being. "Population 3 billion. No survivors." "How many worlds have we lost?" asked a blue-skinned council member. 17 in the last 30 days, replied General Krill. "The void harmonics are getting faster." Zixtal closed his eyes. The void harmonics. No one knew where they came from or why they attacked. They just appeared 6 months ago from the dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. Scientists had learned only 2 things about them. First, they fed on energy, from stars, from planets, from living beings. Second, they responded strangely to certain sound waves. "Our best weapons do nothing," continued General Krill. "Energy beams pass right through them. Physical missiles are destroyed before impact. We've lost 43 battle cruisers trying to stop them." "What about the sound weakness?" asked Zixtal. A small gray-skinned scientist stood up. "We've confirmed they react to specific sound frequencies. When exposed to certain sound patterns, the smaller harmonics become confused. But our sound technology isn't strong enough or complex enough to harm the larger ones." Zixtal felt a crazy idea forming in his mind. "There is one species that might help us." The room went silent. "You can't mean..." General Krill's antenna twitched nervously. "The humans," said Zixtal. Voices erupted around the table. "Absolutely not. They're savages. They're quarantined for good reason." Zixtal raised his hand for quiet. "I know the concerns. When we discovered Earth 10 years ago, we all agreed humans were too dangerous to join the Federation. Their history is filled with violence. They fight constantly. Their entertainment celebrates destruction. But they have one unique quality that might save us all." "What's that?" asked the Blue Council member. "Sound," Zixtal said simply. "No species in the galaxy has developed sound the way humans have. They use it for everything: communication, art, pleasure, and yes, even weapons. Their planet has thousands of sound types they call music. They're the only known species that weaponized sound centuries before they achieved space travel." General Krill clicked his mandibles nervously. "The quarantine laws are clear. No contact with violent pre-Federation species." "Laws won't matter if we're all dead," replied Zixtal. "I propose we send a message to Earth immediately, a request for help." The council debated for hours. Finally, they voted. It was close, but Zixtal won by a single vote. On Earth, at a small listening station in the Nevada desert, Kate Miller stared at her computer screen in shock. After 3 years of monitoring space for alien signals, she'd finally received one. The message was simple but made no sense. "To the planet Earth. Our worlds are dying. Our weapons fail. You possess what we need. Please, somebody call the humans." Kate reached for her phone with shaking fingers. She needed to call her boss right away. The world was about to change forever. Kate Miller rushed down the hallway of the Nevada Space Listening Center, clutching her tablet. Her heart beat fast as she reached the office of Commander Alan Rogers. She knocked 3 times. "Come in," said a gruff voice. Commander Rogers sat behind a large desk covered with papers. He was a big man with gray hair who rarely smiled. Kate had worked under him for 3 years, but he still scared her a little. "Sir, we received a message," Kate said, trying to keep her voice steady. "From space. It's not one of ours." Commander Rogers looked up slowly. "Show me." Kate handed him the tablet. He read the message twice, then handed it back. "This is a joke, Miller. Some hacker got into our systems. I checked everything, sir. It came from deep space, beyond our solar system, and it's on a frequency we've never seen before." Commander Rogers frowned. "If this is real, why would aliens ask for our help? And how do they even know about us?" Before Kate could answer, the phone on the desk rang. Commander Rogers picked it up, listened for a moment, then stood up quickly. "Turn on the news," he ordered. Kate grabbed the remote and switched on the office TV. Every channel showed the same thing: strange diamond-shaped objects floating above major cities worldwide. They weren't attacking, just hovering and humming. "They're here," Kate whispered. Within hours, Kate and Commander Rogers were on a military plane to Washington. The president had called an emergency meeting. The plane landed at a secret base, and they were driven to an underground bunker beneath the White House. The bunker was filled with military leaders, scientists, and government officials. At the head of a long table sat President Laura Hayes, looking tired but determined. "What do we know about our visitors?" she asked as Kate and Commander Rogers took their seats. A scientist stood up. "They appear to be some kind of crystal-based life form. They're not the same species that sent the message. Based on the data we've received, these are small scouts from something called the Void Harmonics." "And the message?" asked President Hayes. "Appears to come from a different alien group called the Galactic Federation." The scientist explained. "They've sent more information since the initial contact. According to them, these crystal beings destroy planets by draining all energy. They've already wiped out 17 worlds." The room fell silent. Kate gathered her courage and raised her hand. "Madam President, may I speak?" President Hayes nodded. "The message says we have something they need," Kate said. "Something about sound. I think they believe our music or sound technology might help fight these crystals." Commander Rogers cleared his throat. "The aliens also sent this video." He pressed a button. The wall screen showed the destruction of a green planet by the crystal swarm. Everyone watched in horror. President Hayes stood up after the video ended. "We need to decide. Do we help these strangers who claim there's a galactic federation? A federation that, according to their own admission, has been watching us for years and decided we were too violent to contact until they needed our help?" A general spoke up. "We should attack the Crystal Scouts while we can, and risk the same fate as those other planets," Kate argued. "The Federation message says conventional weapons don't work against them." "What do you suggest, Ms. Miller?" President Hayes asked. "We answer their call," Kate said simply. "We send our best sound experts, musicians and engineers. We share what we know about sound waves and vibrations. If they're right and sound is these crystals' weakness, we might save Earth and these other worlds too." President Hayes looked around the room. "We need to vote. Who thinks we should respond to this Galactic Federation and offer our help?" Hands began to rise. The future of humanity hung in the balance. 3 weeks later, Kate Miller stood on the bridge of the spaceship Defiance, Earth's newest and most powerful vessel. She still couldn't believe how fast everything had happened. After the vote, President Hayes had ordered all resources directed to the mission. The Defiance, originally built in secret as a defense ship, was quickly modified for deep space travel. Captain Joe Ramirez walked up beside Kate as she looked out at the stars. "We'll reach the meeting point in about 10 minutes, he said. "How are you feeling?" Kate smiled nervously, like I might throw up. "I'm about to meet actual aliens." Captain Ramirez laughed. "Same here. But remember, we're not just visitors. We're the cavalry." The Defiance slowed as it approached a massive blue planet. In orbit around the planet was the strangest collection of ships Kate had ever seen. Some looked like giant sea creatures. Others were perfect spheres or long tubes. All were much bigger than the Defiance. "This is Captain Joe Ramirez of Earth Vessel Defiance," the captain said into the communication system. "We're here to help." A light flashed, and a hologram appeared on the bridge. It showed a tall purple being with 4 eyes and no hair. Kate recognized Ambassador Zixtal from the video messages. "Humans," Zixtal said. "Thank you for coming. Please dock with our command ship. We have much to discuss." An hour later, Kate, Captain Ramirez, and the ship's lead engineer Sam Peterson sat in a large round room with representatives from 12 alien species. None of them looked friendly. "Let me be clear," said a tall insect-like alien that Kate now knew was General Krill. "Many of us did not want you here. Humans have a reputation for violence that makes many Federation species uncomfortable." "Then why call us?" asked Captain Ramirez. A small gray alien stood up. "I am Vril, Chief Scientist of the Federation. I will show you." Vril pressed a button. A large screen showed the crystal void harmonics attacking a planet. "Watch closely," Vril said. As the crystals surrounded the planet, Vril increased the sound. Kate heard a strange humming noise that made her feel sick. "The harmonics communicate and attack through sound waves," Vril explained. "They use specific frequencies to break down matter and absorb energy." "But what does this have to do with humans?" asked Sam. "This," said Vril, pressing another button. The screen changed to show a montage of human history with sound. Ancient drums, classical orchestras, rock concerts, sonic weapons, music therapy, and sound healing. "No species we know has developed sound the way humans have," said Vril. "You use it for war and peace, healing and hurting. You have created thousands of musical styles. Your brains process sound differently than any species we've encountered." Sam nodded slowly. "You think we can create some kind of sound weapon against these crystal things?" "We hope so," said Ambassador Zixtal. "Our weapons fail. But perhaps human sound technology and music might disrupt their patterns." Kate noticed the other aliens watching them carefully. Some looked hopeful, others suspicious. Captain Ramirez stood up. "Show us everything you know about these harmonics. Their weak points, their behavior patterns. Sam here is our best engineer, and we've brought music experts and sound techs." Sam pulled out a small device from his pocket. "I brought something to demonstrate." He pressed a button, and a high-pitched sound filled the room. Several aliens covered their hearing organs in pain. "Sorry," Sam said, turning it off quickly. "That's just a simple sonic disruptor we use for riot control. Imagine what we could build with your technology and our sound knowledge." For the first time, Kate saw respect in the alien's eyes. Ambassador Zixtal smiled with all 4 of his eyes. "Perhaps calling the humans wasn't a mistake after all," he said. The next few days were a blur of activity. Sam Peterson and his team of human engineers worked side by side with alien scientists. They set up a lab in a large room on the Federation's main ship. Tables were covered with tools, computers, and strange alien devices. "The problem is scale," Sam explained to Kate as she visited the lab. "We can make sounds that bother the small harmonics, but the big ones don't even notice." Kate watched as a Federation engineer connected wires to a large metal dish. "What are you building?" "We're calling it Project Symphony," Sam said with pride. "It's like a giant speaker that can focus sound waves over long distances. The Federation has the technology to amplify sound in space, which shouldn't be possible, but apparently they bend physics differently than we do." Diane Williams, Earth's cultural officer, entered the lab carrying a tablet. She was a tall woman with short black hair who knew more about music than anyone else on the mission. "I've been thinking," Diane said. "Why are we only testing warning sounds and noise? What if we tried actual music?" Sam looked confused. "Music? Like songs? How would that help?" "The harmonics communicate using complex sound patterns," Diane explained. "Our warning sounds are too simple, But music, especially classical or jazz, has layers of complexity that might disrupt their patterns in ways they can't adapt to. General Krill, who had been watching from the doorway, stepped forward, using entertainment as a weapon. This is why many feared bringing humans into Federation space. It's not a weapon, Diane said calmly. It's communication. Think of it as speaking their language, but saying things they don't expect. Sam's eyes lit up. We could modify the symphony to broadcast multiple musical patterns at once. Layer them, mix them in ways that create unpredictable interferences. Kate noticed that some of the alien engineers looked uncomfortable, but others seemed interested. Ambassador Zixtal, who had just entered the room, spoke up. Let them try, he said to General Krill. We have nothing to lose. 2 days later, the first test was ready. A small harmonic scout had been captured and was held in a containment field on a nearby moon. The symphony device was pointed at it from a safe distance. Everyone watched from a control room. Beginning test 1, Sam announced. He pressed a button, and a simple tone sounded. The crystal scout vibrated slightly, but showed no real reaction. Test 2, Sam said, pressing another button. This time, a warning siren blared. The scout vibrated more strongly, but quickly adjusted and stabilized. Now test 3, Diane said. She took control of the system and selected a piece of music. This is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. The famous notes filled the air. The effect on the crystal scout was immediate and dramatic. It began to shake violently, its perfect shape distorting. Light flashed from within it in erratic patterns. It's working, Kate exclaimed. Diane changed the music. Now some jazz improvisation. The unpredictable rhythms and notes of jazz caused the crystal to vibrate even more violently. Cracks began to appear on its surface. One more, Diane said with a smile. Rock music. The heavy beat and electric guitars made the crystal actually split apart. It dissolved into dust within seconds. The room went silent. Then General Krill spoke in a voice filled with awe. It worked. Your human music destroyed a harmonic. News spread quickly throughout the Federation fleet. The humans had found a way to fight back. More tests confirmed that different types of music affected the harmonics in different ways. Some music confused them, some disrupted their structure, and some even seemed to paralyze them temporarily. As Kate watched the celebrations, an urgent message arrived from a Federation outpost. The main swarm of void harmonics had changed course. They were now heading directly toward the human fleet. They know, Sam whispered. Somehow, they know we're a threat. Alarms blared throughout Proxima Station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. Kate ran to the command center where Captain Ramirez and General Krill were looking at a large screen. How long do we have? Kate asked, trying to catch her breath. Less than 6 hours, Captain Ramirez said grimly. The main harmonic swarm will reach Proxima Station by then. Proxima Station was the Federation's largest space station in this sector. Over 50,000 beings lived there, along with the human fleet. If the station fell, the next target would be the Federation's homeworlds. We need to evacuate, General Krill said. We cannot defend against so many harmonics. We're not running, Captain Ramirez said firmly. This is our chance to stop them. All our symphony devices are here, ready for use. But they're not tested for battle, General Krill argued. And we have only 12 devices. The swarm has thousands of harmonics. Kate watched as the two leaders argued. Then she had an idea. What if we use the station itself? She asked. Everyone turned to look at her. What do you mean? Asked Ambassador Zixtal, who had just entered the room. Proxima Station has hundreds of communication arrays, Kate explained. Sam told me they work on similar principles to our symphony devices. What if we convert the entire station into one massive sound projector? Sam Peterson was called to the command center. He listened to Kate's idea and nodded excitedly. It could work, he said. We'd need to reconfigure all communication systems, and we'd need every ship to act as an amplifier. positioned in a specific pattern around the station. Like speakers at a concert, Diane added as she joined them. We could create a sound field that covers the entire approach vector of the swarm. General Krill looked doubtful. This has never been attempted, and we would need to coordinate over 200 ships from 20 different species. Then we better start now, Captain Ramirez said. He turned to the communication officer. Send the order to all ships. Tell them to follow human instructions precisely. For the next 5 hours, everyone worked frantically. Sam and his engineers reprogrammed the station's systems. Diane selected and mixed the most effective music from Earth's history. Captain Ramirez directed the Federation ships into position, creating a giant sphere around Proxima Station. Just as they finished preparations, the sensors detected the harmonic swarm. It was enormous, a cloud of crystal shapes stretching across space like a shimmering wall. They're in range, Sam announced from his control panel. Symphony network is ready. All ships report ready, added Ben Ward, the communications officer. Captain Ramirez nodded to Diane. Start the music. Diane pressed a button. Through the massive network they had created, Earth's music began to flow into space. It started with classical symphonies, their complex patterns washing over the approaching harmonics. The front line of crystal entities began to shudder and shake. It's working, Kate said. But then the harmonics adjusted. They changed their formation and continued forward. Switching to rock music, Diane said, turning a dial. Heavy electric guitars and pounding drums replaced the classical music. Again, the harmonics reacted, many of the smaller ones breaking apart, but the larger ones adapted and kept coming. They're learning, Sam said worriedly. We need something more unpredictable. Try everything at once, Kate suggested desperately. Diane nodded and pressed several buttons. A chaotic mix of all Earth's music styles poured out into space. Jazz, rock, classical, electronic, folk songs from dozens of cultures, all playing simultaneously. The effect was immediate. The harmonic swarm faltered. Their perfect formations broke apart as the unpredictable sound waves hit them from all directions. Hundreds of crystal entities shattered into dust. Keep going, Captain Ramirez ordered. For an hour, the battle continued. The station shook as some harmonics got through and attacked, but most were destroyed by the wall of sound. Finally, the surviving harmonics retreated. A cheer went up in the command center. They had won their first real victory against the void harmonics. But their celebration was short-lived. Ben Ward looked up from his console with a worried expression. Captain, he said, I've been monitoring the harmonics during the battle. I think I've discovered something important. They're not just running away. They're regrouping. And I think they're communicating with something much bigger. Everyone gathered in the main laboratory of Proxima Station. Engineers fixed damage from the battle, while Ben Ward explained his discovery. On a large screen, he showed recordings of the harmonics during the attack. Watch their movements, Ben said, pointing to the crystal formations. They're not random. They follow patterns, almost like a dance. Diane leaned forward, studying the screen closely. Those patterns look familiar. They remind me of music visualization, how sound waves look when displayed visually. Ben nodded excitedly. Exactly. The harmonics don't just use sound as a weapon. They are sound, in physical form, and they respond to our music not just because it hurts them, but because they understand it as communication. Sam scratched his head. So we're not just fighting them, we're talking to them. In a way, Ben said, but that's not all. Look at this. He showed another recording, this time focusing on the moment when the harmonics retreated. He enhanced the image and pointed to tiny pulses of light moving between the crystal entities. Those are complex sound patterns, much more complex than what we've seen before. They're sending a message to something else. The bigger threat you mentioned, Captain Ramirez said grimly. Yes, Ben confirmed. Based on the signal strength and pattern complexity, I believe there's a central harmonic entity controlling the swarm. something ancient and vast. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed this information. Then Diane spoke up, her voice thoughtful. If the harmonics communicate through sound patterns, and if they understand our music as some form of communication, maybe we could try to actually talk to them instead of just attacking. General Krill made a sharp clicking sound with his mandibles. Talk to them. They've destroyed 17 worlds. They are not interested in conversation. But what if they don't understand what they're doing? Kate suggested. What if there's a miscommunication happening? Maybe they don't realize they're killing living beings. Sam had been quietly working on a small device during the discussion. He looked up suddenly. I have an idea. If the harmonics exist as crystallized sound waves, maybe we can decode their patterns, turn their vibrations back into something we can understand. He connected his device to the main computer system. This is a prototype translator based on the same principles as our symphony weapons, but reversed. Instead of projecting sound, it analyzes vibration patterns and tries to find meaning in them. Sam ran the device on the recordings of the retreating harmonics. Strange sounds filled the room. Clicks, hums, and musical tones that made no sense to human ears. It's going to take time to decode, Sam said. But this could be the first step toward real communication. While Sam worked on the translator, Kate met with Ambassador Zixtal to discuss their next move. The Federation Council is impressed by your victory, Zixtal told her. But they're also worried. The harmonics will return, and next time they'll be prepared for our sound weapons. We need to be proactive, Kate said. Instead of waiting for them to attack again, we should take the fight to them. Find this central entity Ben discovered, and try to communicate with it. Zixtal's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. That would be incredibly dangerous. We don't even know where this central entity is located. Actually, we might, said Ben, who had just entered the room. I've analyzed the signal patterns from the retreating harmonics. They all point to a specific location in deep space, beyond the edge of the galaxy. He showed them a star map with a pulsing red dot far from any known star system. That's where we need to go, Kate said firmly. Ambassador Zixtal looked troubled. The Council will never approve such a mission. It's too risky. Captain Ramirez, who had been quietly listening, stepped forward. Then we won't ask for permission. The Defiance is fast and has the best sound equipment. We can go ourselves with a small team. It would be essentially a suicide mission, Zixtal warned. Captain Ramirez smiled grimly. Good thing humans are known for doing the impossible. The Defiance moved silently through the darkness of deep space. Kate stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by. It had been 3 days since they left Proxima Station against orders. Their small crew included Captain Ramirez, Sam, Diane, Ben, and a few volunteer engineers. To Kate's surprise, Ambassador Zixtal had also insisted on joining them. We're approaching the coordinates, Captain Ramirez announced, dropping out of warp speed in 5 minutes. Sam looked up from his control panel. The symphony system is ready. We've loaded all types of Earth music, plus the new communication patterns Diane created. Diane had spent days working with Ben to develop sound sequences that might be understood by the harmonics. They combined elements of human music with the patterns they had recorded from the crystal entities. Do you think they'll listen before attacking? Kate asked Ambassador Zixtal. The 4-eyed alien looked uncertain. I don't know. No one has ever tried to communicate with them before. We always assumed they were mindless destroyers. The ship slowed and then stopped. Everyone gasped at the sight before them. Floating in space was an enormous crystal structure, shaped like a perfect sphere. It was larger than Earth's moon and glowed with inner light that pulsed in complex patterns. Around it swarmed thousands of smaller harmonics. That's it, Ben whispered. The central entity. Before they could take action, the ship's sensors blared a warning. Hundreds of harmonics had broken away from the sphere and were heading toward the Defiance. They've seen us, Captain Ramirez said. Battle stations. Sam activated the symphony system. The ship's speakers projected Beethoven's Ninth Symphony into space. The approaching harmonics slowed but kept coming. "Try something else," Kate urged. Diane switched to rock music, then jazz, then a mix of styles. Each time, the harmonics reacted but quickly adapted and continued their approach. "They're learning," Sam said worriedly. "Our music isn't working anymore." The first wave of harmonics reached the ship. The Defiant shook as crystal entities attached themselves to the hull. Warning lights flashed throughout the bridge. "Hull integrity failing." An automated voice announced, "Shields at 40%. "We need something they haven't heard before," Diane said frantically. She turned to Ambassador Zixtal. "Do your people have music?" Zixtal looked confused. "We have ceremonial sounds, but nothing like human music." "That might work." Diane connected her tablet to the symphony controls. "Everyone, record sounds from your home worlds. Anything unique your species creates." As the ship continued to shake under the harmonic attack, everyone worked quickly. Zixtal hummed a strange alien melody. Ben recorded sounds from Earth that weren't music: the roar of ocean waves, the rustle of forest leaves, the busy noise of a city. Diane mixed all these sounds together with fragments of human music, creating something entirely new and unpredictable. "Broadcasting now," she said, pressing the control panel. The strange mix of alien and Earth sounds poured out from the Defiants. The effect on the harmonics was immediate. They released the ship and moved back, their perfect crystal forms vibrating in irregular patterns. "It's working," Kate exclaimed. But then, unexpectedly, the giant crystal sphere began to pulse with bright light. A powerful wave of sound hit the ship, knocking everyone off their feet. The control panel sparked and went dark. "All systems failing," Captain Ramirez reported. "We're dead in space." As the emergency lights came on, something even more surprising happened. A beam of light from the giant sphere enveloped the Defiants. Within the light, complex patterns shifted and changed. "It's responding," Ben said in awe. "The central entity is trying to communicate." Sam checked his translator device, which was still working on backup power. Strange symbols appeared on the screen, slowly forming into words. "I think," Sam said slowly, his eyes widening. "I think it's asking who we are." Everyone looked at each other in shock. After all this time fighting, the void harmonics were trying to talk to them. The bridge of the Defiance was silent as everyone stared at Sam's translator screen. More symbols appeared, slowly turning into words they could understand. "Who are you? Why do you speak with such strange vibrations?" Kate stepped forward. "How do we answer?" "The symphony system is damaged," Sam said, "but we can use Diane's mixing board to send a simple response." Diane quickly connected her equipment to the backup power. "What should we say?" "The truth," Kate replied. "Tell them we are humans from Earth, and we came to stop the destruction of living worlds." Diane translated this into the sound patterns they had developed and sent the message. The giant crystal sphere pulsed with light again. Everyone waited anxiously for the response. The translator screen filled with new symbols. "Humans, sound makers, we have searched for you across many galaxies." "They were looking for us?" Captain Ramirez asked in disbelief. Before anyone could respond, the beam of light surrounding the ship intensified. Kate felt a strange sensation, as if the light was examining her thoughts. "I think it's scanning us," Sam said, checking his instruments. The light faded, and a new message appeared on the translator. "We understand now. A great error has occurred. We did not know the vibrating clusters were living beings." Ambassador Zixtal moved closer to the screen. "What does it mean?" "I think," Ben said slowly, "they didn't realize that planets and stars contained life. They only perceived the vibrations, the sound patterns." Kate stepped forward. "Ask them who they are and why they destroy worlds." Diane sent the message. The response came quickly. "We are the keepers of harmony. created long ago by the first ones to maintain balance in the universe. We seek disharmony and correct it. The vibrations of your worlds were becoming chaotic, threatening cosmic balance. Sam's eyes widened. They're not invaders. They're some kind of ancient maintenance system. They were created to keep the universe in harmony, but they don't understand the difference between harmful chaos and living worlds. How do we make them understand? Captain Ramirez asked. Kate thought for a moment. Music. Human music is both chaotic and harmonious at the same time. It might help them understand the difference. Diane nodded and connected her personal music player to the transmission system. I have an idea. Let's send them this. She selected a piece of music, a beautiful orchestral arrangement that began softly, built to a powerful crescendo, then returned to gentle harmony. The crystal sphere pulsed with light as it received the music. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then the light changed, shifting through colors in time with the music. New words appeared on the translator. We understand now. Life creates both chaos and harmony. The two must exist together. Balance is not absence of chaos, but harmony within chaos. The smaller harmonics began to change formation, moving away from planets and stars, gathering around the central sphere. What's happening? Kate asked. I believe, Ambassador Zixtel said, they are changing their purpose. The translator confirmed his guess. We were in error. We will repair the damage we have caused. The harmony of life must be preserved, not corrected. Thank you, humans, for teaching us this truth. The Defiance's systems suddenly came back online as the crystal entities released their hold. They're fixing our ship, Sam said in surprise. A final message appeared. We will return to our original purpose, maintaining balance without destroying life. We will help rebuild the worlds we damage, and we request more human music to better understand the harmony within chaos. 3 weeks later, Kate stood with Ambassador Zixtal in the Great Hall of the Federation Council. Representatives from all 24 member species were present, along with the crew of the Defiance. The head counselor spoke. For millennia, the Federation has maintained peace among the stars. Today, we recognize that this peace would have ended without the help of humans. Earth will no longer be quarantined. We formally invite humanity to join the Galactic Federation as full members. As cheers filled the hall, Kate couldn't help but smile. The humans had been called to fight, but had won through understanding instead. And somewhere in deep space, the keepers of harmony were listening to Earth's music, learning the true meaning of balance.